Hey everyone, welcome back. So in the last video we looked at how dependency injection works in Angular 2. Now we're having a look at a different idea of what such a service could do. We're creating a super simple calculator service. Now to do this, I'll first go to my component 1 and I want to restructure this a little bit. I'll create a div here, and here I will have like h1 heading saying this is the logging service we're using here, right? And I'll leave it the way that each component has its own instance. And now I'll create, and let me indent this one more time. Now we'll create another div, which will now hold our calculator service. And what I want to do here is I only provide the functionalities of addition and multiplication, so that is the only thing our service will be able to do to, well, basically to save some time here. And then I will have an input. This will be the first number, and then we'll have an input with like the second number. And then I want to have a button which allows us to multiply, and one which allows us to add those values, right? Now get me a line break, and then we have a result of something. Now this result will be stored in this property here, and I will output it here by using string interpolation. My buttons here will need click events. So here we have on multiply num1.value and num2.value. And I'm really just going to copy this real quick here to my addition. And here we have just on add. Okay, so that's that. Here's basic layout. Not too pretty, but not important for this case here. Now let me create my calculator service here. So it will be calculator.service.ts. And inside here, I'll first create my class calculator service. And let me zoom in a bit. And then I will import injectable from Angular 2 core. And this allows me to use the injectable metadata here. And please note, we're not specifying any arguments here. So now I will have two functions or two methods in this calculator service. The first one is to add two numbers. So it takes basically just two numbers. And guess what it does? It returns the addition. The result when we add those two numbers. And then we have our multiply function, which also takes two numbers, and all this does is, well, it returns us the product of this multiplication. Now we got our calculator service here. Now back to component 1. I need to inject it, right? So let me add it here. And again, think about adding this import from your service file under services in my case here. And in a constructor, I'm now also binding this to a private property called calculator service. The name is purely up to me again, but here I'm obviously using my calculator service instance. So now I need my method, which fires when I click on the multiply button. So on multiply, which takes again just two numbers. And what this will do is it will access my result here and we'll set it equal. So this is this result property, which we're then outputting here. And we'll set it equal to, now let's transform this to a string. That's why I'm just appending an empty string at the beginning. So to transform the number the service gets me back into a string. So it will access my calculator service here then. The multiply, in multiplication function here. The multiply function and I will pass my two numbers, and now I'm just adding a plus sign at the beginning because by default this will be strings, so I also need to change this here because I'm getting the value from the input fields and that are strings by default, but adding a plus is converting them to numbers, which I need to be able to do math on them, and the result, vice versa, I transfer it into a string by appending this empty string at the beginning. Let me save this and let's try this out. Adding 2 and 2 multiply, well, result 4 seems about right. Now I'm just copying this to create the onAdd method here, and here I'll call my add function, and now if I do 2 and 2 again, result is 4. Now let's do 8 and 2, 10 or 16, depending on if we multiply or add it. Great, so that's working. Now I'm grabbing all this code and just putting it into component 2, making sure to replace the selector here again and the name so that everything works. So now I got it here too, and you can check this. Yeah, it works in our second component too. So we got this calculator service running. In the next video, we'll have a look at a very common approach of using a service for fetching data and for manipulating data, because we might want to fetch and manipulate data from several points in our application, several components, so to say, for example. And yeah, we will have a tiny example for this in the next video. See you there. Bye.